Welcome to EntrepreNourish, the podcast that's hard to say but easy on the ears. I'm lifelong entrepreneur Felicite Moorman, and I'm coming at you today once again with my co-founder Ryan Buchert. I think we might have to change the name of this to the Felicity and Ryan Show. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess my focus on being able to set this up and be here ends up schedules.
Yeah, it does. It messes up my schedule.
Sorry.
So, just so you know, we have a list of guests ready and willing to come on. We just don't have our technician. Maybe we should get a technician.
That'd be smart.
All right. Coming at you with the new technician next time. Anyway, I figured you are all celebrating summer like we are and wouldn't miss us very much. Okay, that's not fair. I know you missed us. And I miss you. You are infrequently here. So thank you for setting up EntrepreNourish, but also for coming on as a guest again.
Thank you very much.
It's third time's the charm. This is it, though. No more. I'm kidding. You can come back on.
Thank you.
You have a lot going on.
Yes, I do.
But we decided to do this on your brief return because a lot of people are talking about artificial intelligence, and there's a lot of fear.
Yeah.
And whenever entrepreneurs are nervous or scared or worried, I feel like that's a really great time to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And I think that more traditionally employed people are more fearful than entrepreneurs, but at the same time, I'm hearing from CEOs who are entrepreneurs with employees a lot of questions. And you're my favorite person to talk about artificial intelligence with. Very different understanding than most people. And I appreciate you taking this time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So where have you been? I'm just kidding. I know where he's been. So most people are familiar with large language models when we talk about artificial intelligence.
Right.
I liken large language models like ChatGPT to a decision matrix, actually, where you have weighted decisions. So not all of the factors in a decision are weighted as ones. Some are more important, like if this is going to put my business out of business, that's not a 1, that's maybe a 5 or a 10. And so large language models are predictive in the same way that you use a decision matrix to determine your best decision for your business, what is the next right thing to do. And I hate to say this because it sounds oversimplified, but it's a probability machine.
Yeah.
What is the most probable set of information I can provide based on a prompt to be right, which is why they're sometimes wrong, maybe oftentimes wrong. What would you add?
Yeah, I that's a very good description is in terms of the probability machines and the weights. It's figuring things out, and people think oh, why is it give wrong answers? Well, it's not necessarily a wrong answer. It's saying certain large language models and stuff you can force to most of them you can force to give you the sources and things like this. So you can verify information and you can make sure that they're correct. But in general, it's taking its set of information and giving the most likely answer. And it doesn't need to necessarily be backed in fact, unless the large language model is specifically made to do that. But in general, they're sourcing things like news sources and internet and other things that has a lot of information, but it may not have the exact answer or piece you're looking for.
Yeah, that's really important. So we have a saying in technology: good data in, good data out, bad data in, bad data out. We've all come across things on the internet we wish we hadn't, for whatever reason that turned out to be. And that's what artificial intelligence and the large language models are training on,
Right.
which is why we experience bias in our answers. Who made the technology? Humans, and we're biased.
Yeah.
Across every decision we make, we bring our own experiences and biases to that, and so do the large language models. So when I caution people using artificial intelligence, That's my caution. Just remember that humans made this and we're prone to error, and so is it. So I think that's probably the most important thing you can take away from a discussion on artificial intelligence is not fear, but awareness.
Right. Be aware of what you're referencing and what you're doing. It's amazing at taking, well-written sources and turning it into making you sound smarter and pulling in more information. But it's also able to reference stuff that may or may not exist.
Yeah.
If you don't force it to do that, which you're very good at forcing correct information out of AI, which is a skill. I think prompt engineering is a definite skill, and you only do that over time, just like everything else. You have to learn it.
Yeah. So let's have a moment regarding prompt engineering. Um, there are very simple things you can use a large language model. Let's refer to two today, just so we don't keep saying LLM.
Sure.
Let's so most of these models have a free use tiers. They are a little bit behind the current use tiers that are paid, but they're accessible. I think that's hugely important. Just a couple of days ago, Llama 3, which is the Meta model, came out free, open source. There's some risk involved in open source. It means that more people can access the tool to work with the tool as engineers. And
Mhm.
again, there's that bias that comes with
Yeah.
technology awareness.
Yeah, but it's also important to understand that bias, so that the companies that are releasing these also spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of engineering to pull bias out. They do. It's not an easy thing to do, to make something that's literally generated off like the data source size of the internet and say like, oh, we want to take off this bias. Like
Yeah.
there's very complicated process they're doing to do it, and they're doing a good job, but it's not perfect.
No,
Just
of
like you
course
said, they're
not.
humans.
So Llama
Hmm.
is free, and that's on purpose. Mark
Yeah.
Zuckerberg wants this to be accessible. Uh, think of him what you may, but that's definitely a diversion from ChatGPT,
Right.
which has 4.0 out immediately and available in a paid tier, and also 3.5, which is available free. So there are huge technological discrepancies between those models. I don't mean Llama, I mean ChatGPT 3.5 and 4. So there is a limit to the accessibility of the
Right.
most, arguably the most powerful tool publicly accessible right
Right.
now,
But even the paid tiers at $20 a month is,
which is not nothing,
it's not
especially
nothing. So
with
that's some people when you
in this economy.
well, depending what you value your time in, and if it can help you save some time,
Yeah.
it may be worth it to you.
So that speaking of saving time, this is a really important question. It's the one I probably get most, and that is my job at risk? And so one of the things I discuss with CEOs in particular with large employee pools is creating a policy and a commitment to your team to upskill them so that jobs don't become redundant. So, one of the things I ask marketers in particular when they tell me that they're fearful because with the push of a button, their job is eliminated, which is hyperbole and likely will be for an extended period of time. But I ask them, and I also ask CEOs, are you ever done marketing? Have you ever done all the marketing that you can do? And now your job is over. And the answer is always no. And that's just marketing. But you can say the same thing across all divisions of a company.
Yeah.
The work is never done. The the usage of artificial intelligence eliminates some of the mundane tasks, creates better ideation opportunities, can take data that right now is siloed, and we'll talk about this a little bit next, and deliver better intelligence, business intelligence. It delivers business intelligence to smaller companies that cannot access bigger tools for enterprise. So, huge paid tools that have been created over decades. I would say more likely than human beings becoming redundant, if they upskill and learn to use these tools, uh, there are softwares.
Yeah, and if you think about, like, in my head, sometimes I compare this to cybersecurity.
Oh, perfect.
When you know, the people defending the data have more
Mhm.
skills than the attackers have more skills, and they're constantly both rising. They both have a lot more work to do. Even take marketing and the complexities of how AI is affecting the engines that decide what is pulled up for ads,
Algorithms, yeah.
or the algorithms for Google and Instagram and stuff. They're getting more complicated. You need more AI now to battle the fact that the algorithms are more complicated and it's detecting the AI. So now you're going to be more specific in your writing. So and your competitors are moving at different pace. It's the same thing with anything else. If your skill in marketing is radio advertising, you may be a bit behind the curve of being able to get into Instagram and things like this. It's the same thing. Upskilling in AI only makes you competitive in your field and what you do, and not necessarily eliminates. We don't now not need marketers. We need them to do different
Higher
tasks.
level, elevated work,
Yeah,
really, is what it comes down to. Learning these tools elevates your work,
yeah,
and if CEOs can see that, listen, we've all had bad bosses, even me. And we will have people who lose jobs because of the expectation of a boss that a person, a human, and human intelligence is replaceable. I don't think that's going to be the majority.
yeah. I agree.
So my recommendation to all of those who ask that question is upskill as quickly as you can. Use these tools. Use them within your corporate policy if you're an employee, but if you're an entrepreneur, get busy and have fun. I mean, I there are a lot of tasks I don't like to do. I tons. And this gives me the opportunity to eliminate those or do them more quickly and do the things that are fun and experiment more and test things to see how these tools work and learn them. And entrepreneurs, I think, are typically curious
Mhm.
and exploratory. And so I
Yeah,
think artificial intelligence is right in line with some of our core values as entrepreneurs.
yeah. And we've had years now of AI being out. Like now we're reaching that point, and the jobs numbers aren't getting affected by
Oh no, it's the best. It's
it.
literally the best job market
Yeah,
ever.
and if you look at the AI, there's the AI job market. There's a complete lack of people that have the skills to come in and do it, and so it's still a very emerging market in terms of the effects. But I don't think it's, you know, like every market, it shifts. Every time there's new technology, the world's gonna change, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. So another question that I have been asked is, do you think that this will have a generational impact? And if so, how? And so I do think there's an advantage for digital natives, our generation that was born with a cell phone, mobile. Um, but I also think that if one can overcome the fear around artificial intelligence, there's a tremendous opportunity to bridge the digital divide. I'm just thinking of using Google, which most of the seniors that I know don't aren't exceptionally challenged using Google, but it's one thing to say, "Tell me about Roatan, Honduras." It's another thing to basically get a guidebook written for you with a very similar prompt. But that I think that this can be a bridge
Yeah,
for and not just generational, but also across economic demographics. Um, this is a relatively accessible tool. I remember as maybe I don't this is gonna say how old I am. I remember when AOL was like $5 a minute or something ridiculous. I mean, it was insane. That was a significant accessibility issue.
yeah,
And I don't know what we were doing on there anyway. There was nothing available to speak of, but $5 a minute, That was crazy. And so this you can access at, this is an assumption,
Mhm.
public libraries. This is really very available. And I also see, regarding employment, tons of opportunity to create technology more quickly as
Right.
a less technical person.
Right.
What is in your imagination can be created more rapidly with these tools.
Right.
I think that's hugely exciting. More entrepreneurs. And that's what I want, is just all entrepreneurs. Who's going to do the work? Entrepreneurs. Thinking about that. So that's a question that comes up pretty considerate. Yeah, that's a high number. It's in top 5. Oh, let's talk about prompt engineering, because
Yes,
we didn't talk about this.
absolutely.
So again, we're really referencing only
Large language.
large language models right now, and they're not. It's not even fair to call them that anymore, because now they can interpret video and
Mhm.
photos
Yeah.
and
And 4.0, like, it's not even 4.0, it's actually 4.0 for
yeah,
Omni.
yes,
And so, like, your input can be a picture, and it can interpret that into the words. But it's funny because even your image ones, you tend to use language to interface
yeah.
to them, and sometimes it's picture to language, but, like,
And
it's
sometimes voice,
Mhm.
like the
Yeah,
options. So it's really a large object model now.
yeah.
It can do incredible things, far far outreaching what it could do a year ago. That can be intimidating even to technologists. So Um, but I did want to, the number of tools in the marketplace, I think last I checked was 70,000 tools utilizing artificial intelligence as a platform to deliver a specific a specific goal. So maybe your goal is, edit all the photos in my phone, make everybody look like a supermodel. That's probably one of the 70,000. So that's happening right now. 70,000 new businesses in 2 years, and maybe they're not incorporating, and it's not in you know, the economic consideration, but this is happening right now, and it's happening very quickly, and 70,000 is
Mhm.
huge. So how do you get started? That's why I'm focused on ChatGPT and Llama. And ChatGPT is available as a mobile app, so it's something you can easily play with in the short term without, I mean, in the line at the grocery store, for instance. And so let's talk about, just briefly, prompt engineering. What is that? So when you ask a question like, "Tell me about Roatan, Honduras," that's something you'll get an answer for, and you can say, "I want to read 3 pages. I want to read 3 paragraphs." You can add to the parameters of what you are seeking. And for me, I said, "Give me the ideal vacation for teenagers, for 7 days in Honduras, Roatan in particular." And those specific parameters produced something that I went and then verified. That's important to make sure that these places are open, highly rated, etc. And when you're creating your prompt or you're asking your question, you have the capacity and ability to create limitless pages of parameters if you want to. That's when it becomes very powerful for your business. Quick note, there is the equivalent of an incognito mode in ChatGPT. I haven't explored this in Llama yet, where you can say, "Do not use this to train the model." So that's in settings. It's not hard to find. You can ask it where to find it, and it will tell you, and then click that toggle or swipe the toggle so that you can, if you would like to, have a more private experience. I think that also makes people nervous.
Yeah, the privacy thing, they don't know what it's learning, and what it's doing at that point is it's not learning. And I know you use it when you're talking about, stuff of secret business information, and you want to write it for the
Top
engineers or
secret.
something, like, then you'll use it. Whereas otherwise, you want it to learn more about
Mhm.
what you're talking about. If you want to learn more about your business, it learns about your business, and that's great.
Exactly. So when you're creating the parameters of a prompt for your business, say you want 30 days of social media posts for your hot dog stand. That's pretty straightforward as a prompt. You put in the information about your business that is important. So maybe your about page, you put in that you want it in the tone of Ryan Reynolds, and it will deliver that, but just make sure that's actually what you want. It's fun to play with, make this sound like the character from Good Will Hunting. You can do any number of things. Make it fun, make it fresh, make it compelling, include a call to action. So you create all of these parameters to get a deliverable, and that deliverable is it's what you make it, truly. And that's why you can put a crap prompt in and you're going to get something pretty basic that's not going to impress a lot of people. But with focus on that prompt engineering, you're going to get something much more powerful and compelling for your reader or your social media follower. And that's where the human intelligence comes in. You can ask it how to write prompts. You can ask what are the parameters I should use in this. So you can learn with the tool, using the tool, which is nice.
Yes, because that's the thing. I think it's going to take, everyone needs to spend time and educate themselves and play with it. Just like anything, spend hours playing with something to learn it. Just something new. You're having conversations with a black box machine. It's
Yeah.
just a little intimidating for some people.
It can be, but once you get in there and you start learning the tool, I think that a lot of the fears subside.
Yeah.
So first thing, I think for an entrepreneur or a CEO of a major corporation that's maybe larger and more robust than sometimes we think of entrepreneurs, maybe a couple hundred people or even solopreneurs. But the first thing to do, I think, is experiment, learn, educate. There's limitless information available from people who are educating on this right now. Go to YouTube, watch EntrepreNourish. So I think that's the first thing you do. And if you're within a larger corporation, make sure that what you're doing is within any policies that have been created. That's hopefully the larger companies are establishing policies, because that's really the next thing you do is consider the ethics around using artificial intelligence, commit to your team and your employees, and say that you are committing to them to not reduce your headcount on the false assumption that you can. Because again, just like that prompt engineering, it's intelligent humans using artificial intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence delivering its own product.
And like those limitations, like our engineers in our company, they will take their code and literally put it in. Hey, find the mistake in my code.
Yeah.
And or improvements and things like this. There's a lot of code pieces that put in, but our engineers made policies. They decided for themselves they're not going to give any AI full access to our entire repo to like access it.
What's a repo?
Place where all
repository
for all your code. So we're not giving any AI full access to all of our code.
Thank you.
But giving code snippets and asking for help is something that's very common that they do.
Yeah, so since you're here, I think that when people begin to research what's available in those 70,000 tools, they also will be somewhat intimidated, but also it's fun. It's exciting what's available. So speaking of fun and exciting, you haven't been here for a long time because you're working on BOSS.Tech.
Sorry.
Because I don't like
take
you.
The leads very well. Sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. So you haven't been here for much of the summer, at least. What are you excited about at BOSS.Tech? And can you share anything about artificial intelligence inside of our super app?
Sure. We use artificial intelligence in two ways, and that's a lot of what this summer focus has been. Is we do we do a lot of things stacking AI models on top of each other and stacking them with information from the apps you already have. So in large companies, they've already set up to have all their data kind of come all together. But
The largest
the largest
companies.
companies.
Maybe like
Yes.
the Fortune 500 or
Fortune 500.
1,000.
Yes,
But
exactly. It's very expensive and hard to do. For the rest of us, we use a lot of SaaS models, so our data's all siloed all over the place. And so what we're
SaaS
trying to
is
do,
software.
software as a
So the
service,
software that you use as an entrepreneur is QuickBooks, Meta. Maybe you have a ticketing system. Maybe you have a point of sale system.
even
Uh,
all your social.
It's really the average company uses 100 different software platforms now, and that's increasing, not decreasing. That's a lot.
So, yeah, and so what we're doing is we're stacking in. Okay, here's like a data source of like QuickBooks or a data source of your users on Meta or whatever it is, and then that's can be used as inputs into AI, and then those AIs may be stacked on top of each other. So you can fetch your users out of QuickBooks, find out who's late on their bills, how late they are, and make custom prompts based off of past conversations you have in the style of yours based off your business. Like
Okay,
you
so
take
are
all
we?
that and automatically combine it with a button.
Oh, see, there's that button.
So you make a button push that. So I like if a person doesn't have to understand the problem in a small company is first of all trying to understand all those tools and trying to
Yes,
access the data and move it around and reformat it and do all that.
almost impossible. I like Google Sheets and I don't get along.
So being able to get the data in a format that most small, medium-sized business owners can't even get the data in these formats, and then stick it into AI, accomplish some pieces, and then move it into another AI to do something else, and then ship it via text or whatever type of methodology it gets sent.
I love it.
Is not easy to do. So make it a button, and that's kind of our focus as being is how to stack that stuff, and that's an architectural challenge of data normalization and
So when you say
and
architecture, you don't mean buildings.
no, how the software is made. Like there's a standard flow for how software as a service software in general is made,
Love it.
and it's not that exact architecture does not make a flexible model that accomplishes kind of what I'm talking about in a safe manner that gives the right permissions and all these little details that they worry about for data security.
Okay, that's really important.
Yes.
So I think there's a likelihood that people who are listening heard you say we're gonna take your data from QuickBooks, and we're like, no, you're not. So can you talk a little bit about privacy and security?
Absolutely.
The importance, knowing who you're working with and what they're doing to make sure that your data isn't getting dumped into an open LLM that is then
Yeah.
using that information or can access information you don't want available to your competitors or the random person on the street or, God forbid, a hacker. Like, what's important around security and privacy? You can go general when using artificial intelligence, or you can talk about how we protect.
So first, you have to make sure that the person accessing it is allowed to access the information they're allowed to use.
Permissions. They have permission.
Permission, and they need permission to use that data in the manner in which you're going to use it.
So this, I'll give an example problem
Mhm.
that we had at our last company. Our data was siloed, like everyone's, into multiple different spaces. So we had Salesforce, where we kept a client persona as complete as we could, but that wasn't connected to QuickBooks. And we paid a consultant a lot of money to integrate some of these softwares, and they were never completely successful. So I get a call on my cell phone from a major client, either really early or really late, but not appropriate. And it was fine. I'll take calls. But he was a little ranty about something that had been a user error on their side. It's not the end of the world. We took care of it. But I got curious. I was like, how much has this client grown? Because he was a first client and now he's probably in our top 20 clients, but lower on the totem pole. And if he's still calling me personally, like how much additional business has this become for us? And I go to talk to our CFO and find out that he's in arrears, which means he hasn't paid a lot of money in a long time. And what I would have liked to see is when I'm on the phone with this person and troubleshooting with them as a client and a valued client, I would have really loved to see a holistic view of that person
Yeah.
and understand. It would have been a great time to say, "Hey, you sound really happy that I've solved your problem. Can I please have my 300 grand?" Or whatever it was. It may not have been that much, but it might have been. So that is one of the things that we're solving as a problem,
Correct.
as Ryan just described, from a more technical architectural standpoint.
Right. And that one we're also solving, but that one involves a bunch of other pieces. So
Oh, tons. I made it simple.
yeah.
I do only use 2 softwares.
Because the software sources are separate, there's no link between the data sources.
Right.
So we actually have to use AI to find the links between the data. And we have to do that accessing only the data that you're allowed to do. In other words, it pretty much has to run for your business for you
Right.
and to what you can access. So when you click on that person, you can see their help tickets. You can see maybe their post on Instagram or whatever. And yes, you can see how much money they owe. But if you don't have access, because to allow to know if they owe money, you can't
Right.
show that. So
Right.
we both have to use the combination of permissions. We have to use AI to connect the data, and then we have to decide permission-wise what you're allowed to look at and what you're not
As an employee
as an
of
employee.
blank
Yes.
company.
And then what we need to be able to do is then make decisions like, hey, do we want to be able? Can that person make a request? Can I see this piece of information? But we can also do things in the future. We'd like to get to the point where we can also provide like metadata, if you will. An example of this, I think, like from the Stratus days, is we wouldn't let the building owner know the temperature in your room,
Right.
and stuff, because you can actually tell when they're home and stuff
Right.
based on them
If it's
changing the temperature.
occupied, sure.
But we would let them know if it's freezing.
Right. If there's
Or
emergent circumstances.
So, hey, they owe lots of money. Like you can give them a button that says they owe lots of money versus looking at the exact
Yeah.
pieces.
I
So,
would like to know that I'm owed lots of money.
so we can make the metadata have a different permission set than the direct data.
Mm. Yeah, this sounds very complicated.
Yes,
You
a lot of
bet.
intersection of pieces.
You better go. Back down there. All right. So we talked a little bit about in our first episode the fact that artificial intelligence and its public availability in November of 2022 really shifted everything for us for that reason. And what you just described really illuminates what had to change in our application in order to make that viable and capable. All right. Is this still the hardest thing you've ever done?
Yes, completely.
I heard you drop an F-bomb today. That's not a common occurrence.
Yeah, sometimes.
But yeah, sometimes it's hard. You know, I had a young friend who used to say, some days are hard. And I see you persevering through some pretty big challenges with
Yes.
our team. And I love how receptive they are.
Yes, they will pivot on a dime. They do take on such complex problems. I'm like, this because of this, and this, and this, because what's not going to work because of this. Like, we got it, and they're disappearing and working on it, and that's amazing to have a team so responsive and so willing to like hear these crazy scenarios and be like, this is going to be a problem because of this, and it feels great to illuminate them in that regard, and the fact that they're so smart and able to
Neuroplastic. Like they
completely.
really learn quickly, but then internalize that information in a way that assists in producing better product.
Yeah.
It's I've rarely seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And there's a lot of change required, and I think probably one of the biggest fears that's created around artificial intelligence is the rate of change.
Yes,
It-
well beyond people's comfort.
Way beyond. It's not comfortable for me. The the rate of change. I can't keep up with all of the changes in AI under any circumstances. I have multiple news sources that I access daily to get the top level, but it's tremendous. So there's something called Moore's law, and it was basically every 2 years the computing capabilities would double, and that had a huge impact. That's why software ate the world. But those numbers pale now for the rate of change of computing
Well,
capabilities.
it's the
The hockey
passing
stick.
the hockey stick. It's exponential curves do that, and so the computing power is just increasing. It's well beyond what we needed for old technology.
But I think that that's intimidating to a lot of people, the feeling
Yeah.
that they can't stay up to date, catch up.
Yeah. I remember working on 3G, like designing working on the standard, and we were trying to imagine what people would ever do with that much data to their phone. And we didn't imagine the use cases when we're working on the technology that became 3G wasn't even enough. Like it wasn't even near enough for the use cases that came up. Like would have never handled YouTube, and
That's a great example.
that's at the time we couldn't imagine someone would be shipping video, looking at video randomly for fun on a phone.
All day for like 8 hours at a time.
That wasn't an imagined
Yeah.
thing, but we built the technology to do it, knowing that people would find a way to use the power.
Yeah, if you give it to them, they will utilize it.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's a really important point as well. There will always be bad actors. There will always be people doing the wrong thing with a hammer or fire. I mean, these are tools, and artificial intelligence is a tool. And there will be people who utilize it for poor behavior and bad choices. And then there will be those who literally work to counter that. These
Yeah.
giant tech companies are included in that, much like they're working to remove bias and they're working to deliver more accurate information. They're also working to counter
Yeah. It's
bad actors.
again right back to that cybersecurity, like the battle.
Yeah.
It's going on. They're trying to track, hey, what's real information versus fake information being posted, and they're using AI and things like that to do that and figure it out. So there's lots of people working on both sides of that.
Yeah, it's incredible. So we only talked about ChatGPT and Llama today. If you use a paid subscription for ChatGPT, you can also access Dolly, which is their image creator, which is a lot of fun to play with. I tried to design a couple book covers with it and had limited success, but I blame the prompt engineer and not the tool. I'm sure if I had had more time or taken more time, I could have had better results. But if you follow me on LinkedIn or if we're connected on LinkedIn, I'm doing a pretty consistent post about artificial intelligence and the tools that are available now. But again, my number one piece of advice is try one of those two and understand what's possible.
Definitely.
And pretty soon try BOSS.Tech. No
Definitely.
pressure.
Not at all.
No, I know you and the team are working hard.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you can tell by all the pictures of them throwing axes at the. I'm kidding. They did go axe throwing, but I think that was just a good emotional release
There you
for
go.
the chaos and tension.
Definitely.
It's a lot. It's a lot to do these new technologies. All right. Anything else you're excited about right now? I know we're getting close, and it's an intense time.
Mhm.
How are you supporting the team? And all of our businesses, if we're fortunate, will go through intense times, and this is ours. So, what are we doing?
Oh, um, yeah. I mean, I try my best not to put all the. It's not all the engineers. Like you can't just completely push all the pressure on them. So I take a lot of the pressure on myself. Of course, that's my usual nature, and try to be more of a guide as to the paths and be very involved in the path of finding solutions and we've done a lot of things even just to re-architect even the way the company operates. Even in an intense time, it sounds risky and crazy, but we changed the way our sprints work and things like this to give testing more time. We were only really, we had all these technology working that wasn't getting out because of testing. It was just by the time the product came out, it wasn't quite where it was working when we were in the development stages. So we found out, well, we need to give them more time to test. Like this, there's a test cycle that's too short, and if we do this, then they're testing front end and then testing back end, or whatever order you want to do things in, and it enabled us uh, to change things and give people less pressure, looking for those opportunities to remove pressure and provide the space and guidance, because you can only get so much work. But if
That's true.
it's harder sometimes for them to see where the space and guidance can be gotten, or even if they have permission, they may not feel like they have permission. So trying to go in there and find those places to make things easier.
Yeah, so we've talked about this before as well. When you're in a situation where it is an intense time or you have a rough deliverable, look for places to deliver grace.
Mhm.
It could be financial grace, give yourself, permission to maybe order dinner instead of make dinner. It could be time grace, like maybe eliminate a couple of obligations if you're capable. And I think that the best way to be able to see where you can deliver grace is to maintain perspective. And I think one of your highest character traits from a value perspective as an entrepreneur is you maintain perspective. You're a realist, but you also lean towards optimism.
Mhm.
And I think that it makes you very trustworthy to a team to see that you're not freaking out
Yeah.
because you don't. Like I could probably count on one hand the number of times I've seen you get upset. And I think that that's hugely valuable to give a team grace
Yeah,
from that strength.
they it helps to have a steady hand, and you're very good at providing that
I'm a little more frenetic. I mean, excitable.
yeah, but you're also good at exciting them, and you're good at the inspirational parts. I'm more when things aren't working well. Like, well, this is why it's okay. Like that's only because we didn't give you this space to do here. You have to look at the ways that we have made mistakes in architecture, how you're working on it, or not clearing the requirements, or not giving you enough time to test, whatever it is, and try to make sure to provide that grace in that regard.
Go team. You be the steady hand, I'll be the cheerleader.
I like it.
It's not a bad moniker. It's not. I really like half my job is taking care of our team.
Yeah.
So it's all of it right now. But it's really it's exceptional. The team is exceptional and you all are doing an incredible job. And it
Thanks.
helps me maintain perspective prior to product launch, which is also intense for marketing and
Yes.
sales.
Yes.
And so it's really like there's a bit of pura vida in the culture of a technology company, and I don't think you see that very often.
No, it's
I
kind
love
of
it.
nice.
Good. All right. Back to artificial intelligence. I'm trying to think of additional questions, ethics in use. Again, there's going to be bad actors, but I think that understanding how to keep your information private when needed is important. Um, I think not reducing headcount for, again, the false assumption that you are able to is hugely important. Making sure that your teams have equal access to the tools to learn so that
And the time.
yeah, and time, yeah, build that in. We right now have a 30-minute a day challenge
Mhm.
where our team uses AI, a
Yeah.
different tool every day, over the course of 100 days. And it's not, I did not create this challenge, but it's hugely important to understand what's possible
Yeah.
eh, for you and
Sparking
for your
imagine
company.
yeah, sparking imagination in employees can help
Yeah, it's
bring ideas.
amazing. And how can we so the goal of BOSS.Tech is to empower entrepreneurs. How can we use these tools safely and effectively to deliver higher success rates for businesses? I mean, that's our whole mission
Yeah.
is to make entrepreneurs more successful, ethically, with integrity, and eliminate vulnerabilities as we're able across business platforms, not just with artificial intelligence. But I think that this is a huge opportunity for us. And I've said this before on Entrepreneurish, but I really appreciate that we had the timing was rough, but that we had the cognizance to say, we have to stop and
Mhm.
take a look at this
Yeah.
because it changed everything. And sure, there are 70,000 tools out there, but this is going to be special.
It's not it's not just the tool, it's connecting between tools
All the tools, all the things.
and making it. I don't know. It's a lot like when I was first facing the Internet of Things industry. It was how do you make it as easy as your dishwasher? You hit the button and it washes your dishes. We need to be
Mine
able
doesn't.
to gotta be able to hit the button and accomplish what you want for your
I don't
business
know how I
without
could buy the
learning.
most complicated dishwasher. Seriously, it's European. No, I think that you know your strengths and you stay close to them even though we're not working in hardware right now. You still stayed close to your goal of making technology easier and more available.
Mm.
It's huge. Do you have a favorite tool that you're using right now?
I'm using so many different ones. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, the standard chat TPT and stuff, but there's probably nothing that particular that comes in mind. I don't know. Hmm.
I'm using some new tools around search engine optimization. And when you create a company that needs inbound leads, so leads come to you, it's really important that your website is not just available, but optimized for people to find you. And the AI tools around search engine optimization, SEO, are not perfect. And they require, right now, I feel like they require almost as much work as just kind of crap shooting and putting out your your website in ways that you know you should do. But I still am finding they'll evolve.
Mhm.
And so I'm still finding using those tools highly valuable. I cannot stand AI video. Anything that I've made is, again, maybe if I spent more time with it, if that was really close to my job. But
But we've had a lot of good laughs.
yeah, you can have a lot
And
of fun. It's funny.
I've seen the funny part is like, and I think AI videos, like I've seen some really funny like videos that like on social media stuff that's been
Oh,
generated.
other
Amazing.
people are awesome. I suck. I'm not denigrating the tools. I'm just saying that I think you have to be like professionals. The higher your
Right.
capability as a professional in your
Yeah.
career, the more value you'll get out of the tools that enable you in
Yeah.
artificial
And like
intelligence.
just to give examples, like if you know like, really weird examples maybe, but like if you know how a camera works and like that I like this
Mhm.
lens and this camera for this
No, that's a
reason
great
with this
example.
film, like you can say as if you're using this lens, as if you're using this film, like because you know the effects or oh, move the light over here because it's gonna have this better effect. Like you can command it just like you would a studio.
Yeah.
Like the knowledge doesn't like what you've learned in the real world can be translated into it
Yeah.
and make you more powerful in the AI world.
I love it. That's a really good example too, because that's an example of a professional understanding their tools in order to do prompt engineering that delivers comparable results to what they can actually create in real life a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did do a video the other day where I accidentally melted my dog. That was really disturbing. I mean, it was an accident. I didn't mean to, but man, that one threw me for part of the morning. So be careful, be
Don't melt your
cognizant.
dog.
Don't melt your dog. I think we know the title for the podcast now. That's good. One thing that I heard the other day that really resonated with me was that AI is the dumbest it will ever be. So there is no going back. You can say Pandora's box if you want to, but I think that that's fear-mongering. This is the beginning,
Yes.
and it's exciting, and it's available and ready, and hugely enabling in a lot of ways. So jump in. Get in there.